In 2024, we made a list of our top 10 strikers inside of the UFC, and you guys wanted to knock us out after our poor list. We don't think that they were that bad, but now that it's 2025, it's time to update them, and we're going to be looking at the top 10 strikers inside the UFC in 2025.
It was pretty bad.
Like, I looked back.
The list was bad.
I looked back at my list today. It's the same-ish people.
Just different orders.
Just different orders, you know, and a lot can change, and it was like beginning of September, so that's 4 or 5 months ago.
And Ilya and Max hadn't fought.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a big change.
So now that we've seen more inside of the UFC, we also saw a guy like, actually, I guess
Peter Yan got a win.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you valued that. I actually might have moved him down. Who knows? Things are going to get spicy. They might not all make sense, but they make sense in my head. How we did it is who would win in a pound for pound striking MMA matchup right now. So we're not taking into account Izzy's title run back 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's how Izzy's striking right now in his last 1 or 2 fights. So yeah, let's get into it. We'll start off. We have a top 10 list.
Yeah.
Who is your number 10 fighter, Dylan?
Okay, so my number 10 is actually a tie.
Okay. Well, how's that work? It's a ranking video. You can't have a tie.
No, yes, I can. My number 10 is a tie between Sean Strickland and Israel Adesanya.
Okay.
Because I just kind of grouped them together because I couldn't pick which one, you know, because Izzy actually against Dricus had his most significant strikes in a single round. Like, his striking didn't look that poor, but like every fight it's going down, and Sean's striking just not going to win him a fight against someone who is good on the ground, or someone who's actually like it's going to win him the rare fight like it did against Izzy. Mm-hmm. You know, he's going to have all that volume. And then even when we look at him against Costa, it wasn't a dominant win against Costa, even though it should have been.
No.
You know, he was the former champion, fought all the way down to Paulo Costa and doesn't get a dominant win over it. It's like, what's going on here? It was actually a split decision, you know, although it should have been a unanimous decision. That was poor on the judges' point. But I think that Israel Adesanya performance was kind of a one-time deal. And, you know, we've seen him face Dricus. He lost the split decision. And then, like, before that, few fights before that, saw him lost to Pereira, got kind of dominated. So,
yeah, that's fair. It's funny putting them at a tie when Strickland did beat Izzy, but it doesn't feel like he's a better striker.
You know, if they went and rematched
I want to see
later on this year.
Yeah, I want to see that.
I think we could have a different outcome.
If Izzy beats Imavov and Strickland loses to Duplessis, I think they should run it back. Honestly.
That'd be kind of fire.
All right, I'll go with my number 10. At number 10, I have Tommy Aspinall.
Ooh.
Bro, all he has is a 1-2 down the pipe. That's literally all he has.
Okay.
If you realistically think about it, he has a leg kick, which he uses effectively, but it hasn't like ever actually done anything because the fight doesn't go long enough for it to actually affect anyone, right? You start seeing the leg kick affect them in round 3 and later down the road when they can't stand on it and can't generate any power. Dude ends his fights in round 1. And his power is great and his speed is great. But if you look at his, like, you know, the bag of tricks that he has, it's really a 1-2, sometimes a hook. But I mean, that's what he KOs everyone with. It works. But I think if we're talking pound for pound style matchup and, you know, you go up against someone, I won't say anyone higher on my list, but if you go up against any of the higher people on my list, I don't think he has a lot of success. The heavyweight division just sucks. I wrote down a couple things. Pavlovich is by far his best win. And if you think about it, Pavlovich got beaten by Volkov pretty decisively. Like, it was a boring fight, but he just got outclassed on the feet. And then we compare, okay, well, that's also Tom's best win. Yikes. Pavlovich is not a former champion. He's never held a belt. He's not close to being a top 30 fighter of all time, top 50 fighter of all time. And then you go back, he's KO'd Tibera, Blades, and Spivak. These names suck compared to any of the names above.
But the lowest fight time, you know, he's on my list, but he is probably the least dynamic. He is by far the least dynamic striker on my list.
But it works. So you can't take it away from him. It's just, I think that he doesn't have as much, he's not as dynamic.
Yeah. All right, moving on to my number 9. A guy I actually had higher last time, but he got a win and dropped. It's Peter Yan.
Okay, that's funny.
Because because I had him at number 6 last time. Let me know my last time we fully had Peter Yan as the number 6 striker, because I really value that Song Yudong win.
Apparently. Yeah, I was looking back and I was like, yikes.
But with this win over Figgy, like the dominant fashion, the 50-45, especially against someone who Yan tends to be a little bit more of a volume striker, where Figgy was a little bit more of a power puncher, just absolutely outclassed him on the feet. He had that fight against Song Yudong where he won that fight, and like I genuinely believe that he is one of the most talented technical boxers inside of the UFC. I don't think he's as dynamic as some of the guys higher. That's why he's on the back end of this list. But I just think that his pure boxing skill inside of the UFC is so crisp, so clean, and so effective that I think if you put him up against some of the other strikers in bantamweight, I think he beat Sandhagen. Him and O'Malley in a rematch, it's a close fight.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he already beat Sandhagen, but
Yeah.
at my number 9, I have Israel Adesanya, similar to what you said. A couple of years ago, he probably would have been 1. Like,
Yeah.
he was so good. But now I think he's slightly slower. He's obviously out of his prime. And then you combine that with the fact that Strickland kind of figured him out. And so now people know if you just pressure him and pressure him and pressure him, he kind of gets a bit flustered and, can't counterpunch, can't set up as much traps. I think he does have a similar style to maybe a Sean O'Malley, where he kind of keeps his range and then counter strikes. Very accurate, but maybe doesn't land the most amount of strikes. The reason I have him this low is because if you put him in like a pound for pound style matchup, I honestly think O'Malley would beat someone like Strickland in his division.
Yeah,
and,
I think so.
And even a Duplessis. With how slow Duplessis is, even though he hits hard, I do think Sean O'Malley would have a better chance to beat Dricus and Strickland compared to someone like Izzy at this point in their careers. I'm not saying 3 years ago. I'm saying right now, I think they're just on different trajectories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. My number 8, Tom Aspinall. One thing I do look for is dynamics in their striking. And Tom, he's elite in terms of his power, his 1-2 up the gut. But that's all he needs in heavyweight is the thing. You look at everyone else and the dynamics of their striking is just unreal. Like he is a heavyweight, so he's not really much to see in terms of like the leg strikes. But like even we saw John Jones with that spinning kick to the gut of Stipe Miocic. You're not going to see Tom really pull that out. That's not in his bag. But Tom also knows that he doesn't really necessarily need something like that.
Yeah, Tom would have KO'd him in a different way.
Yeah,
probably a lot faster.
Yeah, he does have the lowest fight time in UFC history, which is something you have to take into account. But like he's basically just Josh Emmett of heavyweight. He's just Josh Emmett.
That's crazy.
That's hyperbole, but like, you know what I mean?
I think it'd be interesting to like, if you could literally just take one fighter and move them up in weight classes, like
Josh Emmett and Tom Aspinall, same fighter.
Yeah, would Josh Emmett be a champion in heavyweight?
Yes. maybe Josh Emmett's Sergey Pavlovich. That might be closer, but
yeah, that's funny. That's a good, let us know.
Comments are going to be so mad at me for saying that.
No, let us know in the comments. If any of the ranked featherweights moved up to heavyweight, would they all be champion?
Josh Emmett made the short list. I kind of wanted to put him there, but I couldn't.
He's good.
I can't wait to go over like the honorable mentions. I made a short list of like 25 fighters. I was going to text you, let's do 20, but then it was like, it's 11 o'clock.
20's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move on to my number 8 pick. This is where I have Peter Yan.
Okay.
Very similar to what you said. I think he moved down on my list as well from last time. I'm not the biggest fan of Peter Yan.
We were so high on this guy.
I know. I'm not the biggest fan of Peter Yan.
I love him.
I think the edits got to me last time. Now, I just don't care for the guy. Like, he's definitely very talented, like you said. He has some of the best fundamental boxing and, hands. But when you think about the competition that he's beaten when he was champion and when he was trying to get the belt, it's just not the same as prime featherweight or prime lightweight, like some of the guys higher maybe. He had a KO win over Aldo, 2020 Aldo in bantamweight. That's how he got the belt. And that is not that impressive, okay?
Holden was washed in 2015.
Call me call me crazy, but that's not that impressive. And that might have been his best display of striking, and that was around 5 KO, I believe. And then the second best display of striking was when he lost to Sean O'Malley, right? Which was a very close fight, very exciting fight. But who's the one that shot a takedown? He was. He shot multiple takedowns. Sean O'Malley never shot a takedown. We're talking about pure striking matchups. He is not quite on the same level as the guys ahead of him. He did outstrike guys like Song Yadong, like you mentioned, and Figgy, but it's Song and Figgy. Yeah. Like, they are not. Figgy moved up. Song is Song.
Yeah, they are guys in the middle of bantamweight. Jan is at the top.
Exactly. I would have expected him to beat them.
Yeah, exactly.
This dude isn't KOing prime champions.
No.
You know?
All right, moving on to my number 7 spot. This is where I have Alexander Volkanovski.
Oh, okay.
Did he make your list?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, so this is where I have him. He was a guy that I don't think made my list last time. I think that I was taking too much into account, like, you know, the 1 and 3. But, like, I know we're not looking back at what they did, but at the same time, kept up with Islam Makhachev, who's higher on this list, kept up with Max Holloway, if not was better than Max Holloway on the feet in multiple fights, and that's coming from, like, a huge Max Holloway fan, higher on this list. But I just know that his striking might be one of the most underrated fighters of all time. You know, people just tend to discredit the things he did inside of his career, and, like, although people don't really think of him as a pure striker, same way they don't think about him as a wrestler, because they just think of him as one of the most well-rounded fighters of all time, you know? But his striking was so good. He beat up guys like Yair Rodriguez on the feet, you know? Yeah. He beat up like guys like Max Holloway on the feet. He almost beat Islam on the feet and on the ground.
Yeah.
You know? So in a pure striking match, pound for pound, I have faith in Volk. I think, you know, he's a little bit lower now just because in a pure striking match, you have to take into consideration the chin. Who knows how good Volk's chin is at this point? But yeah, that's where Volk ends up at number 7, I think is the right spot.
I forgot about his chin. Oh, no, I'm cooked. I forgot about his chin completely. In a pure striking matchup, that dude's getting cracked, bro. Oh, this is so bad for me. Cancel the list.
Number 1.
Sean O'Malley is my number 7 fighter.
Okay.
He's the most creative striker on this list, I think. He has great accuracy and a decent range control. He's just had some pretty tough matchups recently. I do think he lacks a bit of urgency and a bit of just pure boxing technique. But he did win against Peter Yan. So, you know, he's very skilled. I think his takedown defense is maybe what hinders him a little bit. You know, he's a great striker. He could strike with the best people.
Yeah.
But then when you get into a match where you have to worry about that takedown defense, it makes it very tough for him because he's always worried about it. And he's worried about looking dumb, you know? We've talked about Sean O'Malley and how he probably cares about his perception more than most fighters. He doesn't want to be taken down and dominated for 5 rounds. So that makes him be more cautious. He has good knees up the middle, like really impressive knees, great timing on pretty much everything. And I think he can fight moving forwards and backwards, probably the best in the UFC, maybe, other than Max Holloway.
Yeah, he just the way he moves around that cage is...
Yeah, his movement's incredible. So I think 7 is fair, but he hasn't, you know, his first championship defense was Cheeto Vera, which isn't a super high level win. He couldn't get him out of there, but Cheeto is one of the best chins. So it's like, you know, I could see him higher. I could see him at 7, which is where I have him.
Yeah, and I mean, that Cheeto fight, the way he couldn't get him out, he gave him one of the nastiest knees I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Cheeto didn't even knock down Cheeto.
Yeah.
Like, that's stupid.
It was crazy.
All right, moving on. My number 6. So I have Dustin Poirier. I think that Dustin Poirier is going to go down as one of the most legendary boxers of all time. His pure boxing.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Dude,
you know,
how did he never win a belt? It's actually so dumb.
It doesn't make sense.
So dumb.
It doesn't make sense how this guy never won a belt. Why didn't he move weight classes? You know, like move up or down, dude. Go back down to featherweight. Try to fight Max. You know, do something. Because like pure striking inside of the UFC, he could honestly, if this was in his prime, he would have been higher.
Yeah.
Because he was a striker. You know, he was one of those lightweights who was a pure striker, you know, similar to guys like Justin Gaethje and Dan Hooker. But at this point in his career...
And he beat those guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's better than them, you know. But at this point in his career, yet every year in the UFC, you don't age like fine wine. You age like cheese inside the UFC. You're not getting better. It's very rare that you get better as you age, especially once you get over like that 36 hump. It's just you're aging like cheese. You know, the mold's coming out.
Except, I think Bilal Muhammad's just going to keep aging like fine wine. He's going to be the champ for 5 years.
Bilal Muhammad ain't aging like fine wine. Dude almost had to cut off his toe.
True.
But with Dustin, you know what to get. He's going to go absolute war. He's going to
It's going to be one of the best fights on the card.
Yeah, he's going to put it all out on the line. But like he's just the age is getting to him,
Yeah.
So I couldn't put him that much higher just because I know in his next fight it's another year older, and like he looked good in that Islam fight, but at the same time he couldn't outstrike Islam Makhachev.
That's fair. I also have Poirier at my 6. He's one of the most tested fighters in the UFC in terms of striking. He's fought in featherweight, lightweight, the 2 hardest divisions in my opinion. I think his main downfall is that he has taken a ton of damage. You think about the Dan Hooker fights, the Gaethje KO, the Makhachev fight. Like he's taken significant strikes in all of those fights, and somehow his chin is still good.
Yeah.
And even in the Benoit fight, he took big strikes from Benoit as well. He maybe lacks a bit of fight IQ, the way that he jumps the ghillie over and over again.
Which is weird to say from a vet. That's not something you would expect out of them. But
and he can still win. I just think that maybe sometimes he has an easier path to victory and he doesn't take it, Strictly on technique, though, he probably would be like top 3 for boxing. It's just so clean. If you put him in a ring and not an octagon, I think he would probably outbox everyone on this list except for maybe 1 or 2 guys. And then he also doesn't use kicks or knees as effectively. Like you're not going to see a high kick from Dustin Poirier.
That's not his game.
No, it's not. It's all boxing. So we talk about dynamics. He doesn't really have it.
No. All right, moving on to my number 5. This is where I have Sugar Sean O'Malley. A guy that I'm still so high on. I know he has that loss to Merab, but I'm still so high on him. I think if you run that fight back, Sean O'Malley wins it. Because I don't think you go 10 rounds with Sean O'Malley.
Bro will die on this hill.
Yeah, I'm going to die on this hill. And you know what? If you lose that one, we're going for a third fight.
Bro will not survive 15 rounds
You will not survive 15 rounds with Sean O'Malley without him knocking you out.
So true.
But I think technically, he's obviously not the best, but every single fight he's getting better. In terms of these... I hate to call Sean O'Malley a point fighter. He realistically is closer to a point fighter than like a dynamic striker. He's closer to Leon Edwards than he is a Max Holloway. He's going out there. He's pure volume. He's a volume striker. We look at that title defense versus Chito Vera. Some of the other guys higher on this list probably put out Chito Vera, know? But the amount of pure strikes that Sean was able to get off on Chito Vera was unreal. He just entered this state where he was just all over him.
Yeah, his cardio is underrated too.
Yeah, and I think with Sean O'Malley, like you were saying, so dynamic. Maybe even the most dynamic striker inside of the UFC. His variations of kicks, knees, punches, his combos, unreal. And another thing with Sean is he still has the chin. We haven't seen him lose his chin at all.
It's true.
Especially he is younger than some of the other guys on this list, but that's what helps keep him higher up on this list over a guy like Poirier.
I don't even know if I've seen him get rocked at all.
I don't think he's had to fight anyone that could.
Yeah, exactly.
Except outside of Jan.
Peter Yan, I guess.
It would have been the only guy that could have truly rocked him.
Yeah, and I think he actually did eat some strikes, but he still looked good.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you have the 3-round fight against Yan, which was good cardio. You have the 5-round fight against Chito Vera, which he looked really good.
Yeah.
And then you have the 5-round fight against Merab, who's the best cardio in the UFC.
And in the
he
fifth
won
round.
the 5th round.
Yeah.
And arguably won the 4th as well. So it's like, I think it was the 4th. I think his cardio for striking is one of the most underrated things. It's just when you mix in that wrestling is when he starts striking.
Yeah, but if we're looking at it pure striking, I think that his head, he's so smart for like a younger fighter, for a 30-year-old fighter who you wouldn't think would be this smart. His striking IQ, unreal.
All right, my number 5 pick is Max Holloway, right above Dustin Poirier, which I think is fair.
Volk is so high.
Yeah, Volk beat Max Holloway 3 times in the striking and went toe-to-toe with Makhachev. We'll talk about Volk when we get to him. Anyways, best volume puncher in the UFC, I would say. It's fair. Wins over everyone except Volk and Ilya. And then there's early in his career where you have Dustin, but, I don't really count that. We're taking into recent wins, and the only people he can't get a win over are 2 of the best fighters that the UFC has seen in the last 5 years. Strong defense, like really, really good defense. Obviously, he had a great chin. We'll see how it progresses in the next couple fights. Insane pressure and cardio. Like the pressure is unreal from Max. And the way that he mixes it up, going to the body, the head, the way that he did the stomps on the knee against Taporia, like always adding a little something into his game depending on the opponent. I think he has great training camps. Like his coaches know exactly how to motivate him and how to coach him. He is just so good. It's just like when he faces the best of the best of the best, he has failed, unfortunately, in the recent years. So yeah, I think 5 is fair. The guys above him are just so good and on really hot streaks right now. Max Holloway is kind of on a 1-1, and so that's my pick.
All right. Moving on to my number 4. This is where I have Max Holloway. So I thought he was going to be 1.
I did.
I thought he was going to be 1 still.
Yeah. Did you have him 1 on your last list? Or did you have Pereira? No, we both had Pereira, I think. We both had Pereira.
Oh, I had him 2.
Okay. Which one?
1 was Pereira.
Okay.
2 was Max, Sean, Tom, Ilya.
Dude, that was a cooked list. Leon Edwards,
how did people watch us?
I don't know.
That was bad. But yeah, number 4, Max Holloway. I mean, safe, still like you said, best volume puncher. His dynamics, his technique is unreal. Like the stuff that he'll just throw to nowhere at you. Yeah. Unreal. He's got the different levels of his striking between like the working of the head, the body, the legs. He does it all. He is a pure striker. That ground game non-existent, never been existent, which is what I think kind of keeps him away from in terms of like the top in terms of all fighters inside of the UFC. But in terms of striking, pure striking might even be the best pure striker in UFC history.
That's tough to say. I don't agree with that. Just because he has losses over so many guys.
But in terms of the guys that are just pure strikers, if we're looking at the GOAT list, everyone ahead of him is well-rounded. He's not.
Yeah, but does Taporia need to use his wrestling? No.
But he's well-rounded. Like, I'm saying if we just look at the guys who are strikers.
Right. He's still the top of the list.
I think he's number 1.
I think you're forgetting a certain Brazilian fighter.
Pereira?
Yeah.
You have Pereira higher?
Yeah.
Than Max Holloway on your GOAT list?
Oh, GOAT list. I thought you were talking striker list.
No, on your GOAT list.
Oh, okay.
I was talking GOAT list.
Oh, okay, that's why I was so confused. I was like, what are you yapping about right now? This dude is crazy.
I was going to say, no, bro. Very good grappling. Shama.
No one tests the grappling.
But yeah, with Max, like, he basically said everything. It'll be interesting to see his next fight with his chin. Oh, if he has no chin. If he's a CTE merchant.
Bro, have you watched his streams? Bro's not talking clearly anymore. It's actually sad.
He didn't talk normal before.
I know. But like, I don't know if something's changed.
Guy had like pre-CTE.
He did.
Like, he just like somehow like just didn't ever get knocked out.
He was calling, I just watched his breakdown of UFC 311. Not Nurmagomedov, not Dvalishvili. Darnouche. He was calling Dariush Darnouche.
Oh no, we're cooked.
Over and over again.
We're cooked.
It was so funny. But yeah, he's never been good at names, so.
No, but yeah, like Max can't be lower than the spot like 4 or 5.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. That was your 4?
Yeah.
All right. My 4 is Islam Makhachev.
No.
Bro's improving a lot. I think
he beat Volk. You can't use the logic that Volk.
Yes, I can. I literally can. Islam striking is fundamental. It's extremely simple but extremely effective. You can't deny that. He's a southpaw striker, which means that he has better body kicks against orthodox strikers and better head kicks. So automatically he has kind of a leg up on a lot of fighters because most are orthodox. And so when he does have that opportunity to body kick people, it really hurts them. Dustin, he couldn't do that against, which kind of made an interesting scenario, but we still saw him outstrike. So he doesn't need it. He has a good jab, a decent cross. Doesn't use leg kicks very much. Doesn't use teep kicks very much. Just very, very fundamental, like great hooks. There's not much to say. Like, he's just improved a lot. I think his rate of adaptability is very high. Like, he went from this incredible wrestler, student of Khabib, and then in 2 or 3 years, he's like striking with Dustin Poirier, which is kind of wild. Obviously, he did have the TKO win over King Green, the GOAT, obviously. He had the wins over Dan Hooker. He has striked with people his whole career, but now from the first Volk fight to Poirier, it just seems like he's kind of leveled up a little bit, which is exciting for him. And if you look at his last 4 fights, I think 3 of them were finishes. So the dude is just on fire right now. Yeah. Like, he always looks for a finish, which is why he's one of the most exciting fighters right now. I think he's slightly overrated because of the takedown threat. Like, if you just think about pure boxing match, I don't think he beats a lot of the guys higher than him or even lower than him in a pure boxing match. It's just the fact that if you have an MMA match, Dustin Poirier is always going to be thinking about, I need to stuff this takedown as soon as he shoots, because else I'm going to spend the rest of the round here. And he is so strong that, it's hard to defend those takedowns. So if you talk about just a striking match in MMA, he might not have as much success as you would think.
All right, my number 3 is Islam. I really wanted him to put him 2 because I think his striking is so underrated is the thing. You call it overrated. I think it's underrated.
Well, because now it used to be underrated. Now everyone knows it's good.
Yeah.
And now everyone's calling it amazing.
But I think like the being able to keep up with Dustin Poirier and outclass him on the feet. Obviously, you have to take that takedown defense is what helps him out. Because if they're guarding the takedown, heads wide open. Him for Sean O'Malley would be a nightmare match for Sean. Yeah. Sean would be like this the whole boom.
Yeah.
But like you said, his the ability to like work in the kicks and the punches, it's just like so dynamically, but at the same time, it's not dynamic at all. Like the way that he works everything in, but it's so simple. It's the literal basics.
Yeah.
Which is the most Dagestani thing ever.
Yeah.
Like it's like his striking is so good, but it's so basic and fundamental, which is like the polar opposite of the wrestling, but it also makes sense. Like, be excellent at the simple stuff, and that's all Islam actually needs.
Yeah.
He's not going to be able to outclass someone, like you said, in a pure boxing match, but if we're looking at MMA style with the threat of the takedown, he's almost unstoppable on the feet, and like what he did to Poirier.
Until he gets KO'd by Armin this weekend.
Armin's missing weight by 20 pounds.
True.
Dude, he's gonna step on the scale 175.
It's a super soldier.
And then they'll be like, all right, you have an hour to cut down. And then all of a sudden it'll be at 155.
Yeah. That's how it goes.
Just like cut off an arm.
Yeah.
But yeah, what he did to Poirier, what he did to Volk in those 2 fights, like, it's like, okay, yeah, he deserves the respect.
He does. That's why he's going to go down as one of the greatest fighters, Yeah. He's already so close. Like, a win over Armin gets him above Khabib on the GOAT list.
Probably.
Yeah. More lightweight wins, better lightweight wins.
Yeah, he's above Khabib.
Crazy, dude.
And then like 1 or 2 more above DJ.
Yeah.
If he gets that double champ, I put him over DJ.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Because here's the thing is, how long does he go for?
2 years? I think 2 years max.
Yeah, like
he wants to retire.
Yeah.
Which is annoying because like the younger fighters are never going to get to add Islam Makhachev to their list of wins because he's going to retire before they can beat him.
Well, and then imagine, Islam's going to retire, then Umar will be like 31, 32, and he'll have like a year or 2 left, and he'll be cornered by Islam and Khabib.
True.
And then there's like the next one coming up, and then all of a sudden it's Umar, Islam, and Khabib in your corner.
Well, Islam wants to have 7 kids, so we're gonna have 7 Makhachevs in the UFC in each weight class.
He just found like a different like size woman for each of them.
Yeah, different height.
Heavyweight Makhachev.
That'd be wild, bro. All right, I'm gonna move on to my number 3. Oh, I have these backwards. Alexander Volkanovski at 3, the most underrated striker in the UFC, beating Holloway 3 times.
How's the chin, bro?
Yeah, that's the only thing. The chin is a bit sus right now. I didn't think about that, honestly. I was thinking about pure striking, not the chin. But I guess if you are in a striking match, your chin is might be important. maybe a little bit. I don't have a lot of notes here, but the way that he switches stances is unbelievably impressive and confusing for a lot of fighters. He also has that threat of the takedown. I don't think it's as severe as a Makhachev or a, Hamzat Chimaev, but he is one of the most well-rounded fighters, which helps his striking. It's incredible how he only started striking in his late teenage years. Like, if he would have started from 8 years old, like all of the Dagestani fighters do, I don't even want to know how good he would be, And the fact that he was a rugby player and then he got so good at MMA he's truly like a freak athlete, I think. But if we're talking about just striking, his boxing combinations are so strong. It's actually ridiculous. His distance management has always been naturally good. Like, he's talking about even when he was younger, he goes back and watches videos and like, he doesn't know that he was doing that stuff back then, but he'll watch it now and be like, oh yeah, this, like, it was natural for me, He's just a naturally talented striker and athlete. His leg kicks are very strong. The way that he can mix it up depending on his opponent, like he implements a new game plan for each opponent, it feels like. And I think between the second and the third Holloway fight, the dude leveled up like 10%. It was unbelievable. You thought he was good when he beat Holloway closely, and then he goes out there and dominates Holloway, and then gets wins over TKZ, Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega. Like, he entered Super Saiyan mode for a little while there, and he may have fallen off a little bit. But if we're just talking pure striking, forget the chin in my list. Forget the chin. I think he's so underrated still. And yes, he did get beaten by Makhachev, and I think he might have even gotten outstrucken. Is that a word? By Makhachev? Yeah, outstruck.
Nice try, bro.
You're an English major. But he was going up a weight class. A 5'6" man should not be in lightweight.
Yeah, he's so little.
He's a
so
little
short guy Volk.
Short guy Volk. That's what Islam called him, short guy, So I think, pound for pound style, if he was a real lightweight, he would be matching Islam.
5'9".
Yeah, 5'9". I mean, Islam's 5'10", 5'11". If he was a naturally sized lightweight, I think him and Makhachev would have an even closer fight. Mm-hmm. And they already did have a super
think
close
about what
fight.
he's doing at 5'6",
Yeah, it's crazy,
Unreal.
bro. Bro's a ball
like his
of muscle.
pure talent.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, time for number 2. I'm assuming we have the same number 2. Pereira is in at number 2. I think what's so interesting with Pereira is everyone knows how good Pereira's striking is, and then he just shows more every fight. Like that Khalil Roundtree fight, what we saw in the 3rd and 4th round from Pereira was something we hadn't seen from him before. He made it a little bit dirtier. We see Pereira as a slow, methodical striker picking his shots perfectly, but then he was down 2 rounds and he was like, time to change it up, and then he just went in and just absolutely destroyed Khalil Roundtree for 2 rounds, and like when we're looking at striking, he might be potentially the best pure full body striker inside of the UFC. Like what he can do with the kicks, like the calf kicks to the head kicks to the body kicks, the full body work of punches. He, in terms of pure striking, might be number 1.
Pereira was an interesting one. We both had him at number 1 last time because we hadn't really seen the skills of Topuria.
We weren't familiar with the game of El Matador.
Yeah, but I think with Alex Pereira, it's hard to rank him because he would have never made it to a championship level if he was in featherweight, lightweight, and maybe even welterweight. Welterweight would have been closer, but he got his opportunities because he was in the same weight division as Izzy. He never had to go up against any strong grapplers in the beginning of his career. Like, Michaelitis wasn't going to fraud check him. Sean Strickland was a great matchup for him. And then he gets the title opportunity and squeaks it out barely in the 5th round, which, I mean, is a great fight. But, he's one of the best power punchers in the UFC. But everyone knows what's coming. It's the left hook that's going to put you to sleep, and it's going to be the calf kicks. But somehow, it still works every time.
But the thing is, it's a different knockout every time is the thing, too. His last 3 knockouts have all been different. Jamal Hill was the left hook, Yuri was the head kick, and then Khalil was the body shots.
Yeah, he's definitely getting better, like
at diversifying his game. It's not all
left hook, yeah.
Oh, God,
But it still works.
Shama.
His jab has gotten a lot better. We saw against the Roundtree fight, he adapted in the second and third rounds to switch it up. He stopped going with the high kicks that weren't working, even though his high kicks are good. Stuck to the jab, just pieced him up at range. I think it takes thought. Like, you have to have a high IQ to switch your game plan in the middle of a fight, even if your coaches are yelling at you. Like,
you don't listen to the coaches. Poatan does his own thing. They're like, yo, Poatan, do this. Shama.
I'm going to do my own thing. Miles Morales. His defense is improving loads. Like, if you look at his first fights in middleweight, the dude got hit so much. And against Izzy, he got hit so much. Now he's so much more methodical with the way that he backs people up against the cage. He doesn't overcommit on anything. That's why he got KO'd by Izzy. It would be interesting to see how his career would have changed. Like, would he have stayed at middleweight if he never got KO'd a second time?
That's interesting.
Because he's had so much success at light heavyweight, and he looks so much healthier now. But yeah, like you said, like, he's had different knockouts in all of his last 3 fights. We know that he's been a double champion in glory, so it's hard not to put him anywhere other than the top 3. But it's also light heavyweight. The dudes suck.
Moving on to number 1. This was obvious. It was all leading to Ilia Topuria at number 1.
Dude's
best boxer inside of the UFC.
He's actually the GOAT right now. Like, it's crazy.
Like, the way that you can talk about him, like, his last 2 wins over Volk and Max Holloway, just absolutely schooling them both on the feet.
Yeah.
Like, the way that...
And they're both on this list.
Yeah. Like, they were both top 5, or, top 5 for you. They were, like, both on this list. Like, the way that if you have your back against the cage against Ilia Topuria, it's game over.
Yeah.
It is actually game over.
Yeah. His speed is unreal.
You can't get out of there.
Yeah. When you watch Max get backed up, he just goes body, head. Like, it's the speed. You cannot see them coming at you. It's so crazy.
I actually watched the KO of that fight yesterday. It was on a reel. It said, these AI generated videos are getting too good.
Yeah, they are. I mean, that's probably my favorite fight of the last year, so I can't even complain. I've probably watched that fight back the most out of any other fight.
Well, it's easy because you only have to watch like 12 minutes,
Of which one?
Of Ilia versus Max.
No, it was like, I guess, yeah.
It was like 13.
2.5. But then I always like watching the announcements, getting hyped up again.
He watches the walkout.
No, not the walkout. Reliving the moment. Yeah. The way he did Max was just unbelievable. He said he would KO him, someone that's never been KO'd, one of the best strikers. Max was like, the reason why they never put you up against me is because they knew what would have happened, Bro.
It might be the highest class knockout of all time. Mm-hmm. Knocking out Max Holloway.
Yeah.
Is there a better, in terms of class knockout? Maybe Islam knocking out Volk.
Yeah. But that's short notice. That is not the same. The dude was fat.
Knocking out Max Holloway.
I don't think there isn't. Like, I'm trying to think.
And this isn't like, because like you look at people higher than Max Holloway on your GOAT list. John Jones never been knocked out. GSP never knocked out. DJ never knocked out.
I think GSP got ground and pounded once.
Oh, but that's not the same.
Yeah, it's not like an out cold.
Yeah.
Like Max's eyes were.
Like Max, although the fight wasn't stopped instantly, like there was like one.
Yeah, there was a couple follow-ups.
But like he was out.
Yeah, you didn't need
that was just the ref running over.
Yeah, well, I mean, he followed up on Volk, and Volk was iced.
Yeah. But like it was unreal. And like to do that back-to-back Volk to Max Holloway. That's why he was the Dawson's Corner 2024 Fighter of the Year.
I think that's the most impressive thing. Doing that back-to-back in the same year, KOing 2 of the greatest featherweights of your generation. And
throw Connor in there. Aldo.
Yeah, get all the massive names.
The featherweight Infinity Stones.
Facts. Who else? Who was the earliest? I guess Aldo was.
It was Aldo, then
the first.
Then McGregor.
Yeah, and then
Max. Then Ilia, or then
has there
Volk,
only
then
been?
Ilia. There's only been 5 featherweight champions.
Wow, he could KO all of them.
Think about the 5. How good is that 5?
It's goated. It's the best history of any division.
Yeah.
I will go on record saying this right now. If we are blessed, no Max Holloway, to have a Makhachev versus Topuria match, I will be picking Topuria.
I'll be picking Islam.
With no regrets.
Oh, that'll be so good because we could do so much content.
100 videos.
Ilia versus Islam.
Yeah.
Breaking down how the first round of this fight's going to go.
How the second round of this fight.
We are breaking down how each fighter is going to approach their walkouts. All right, that is going to wrap it up for us today. Go down to the comments. Let us know who you think the best strikers inside of the UFC are. Is it Ilia? Is it Pereira? Is it Islam? Is it Volk? Is it max. Let us know. Tell us where we went wrong. Tell us where you're right, even though you're wrong. While you're down there, make sure you guys are liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
See ya.